released a statement saying, quote, "This city, and most importantly, his family and friends, deserve to see justice. I urge the Justice Department to listen to its own lawyers and bring this case to an end. Until that happens, the wounds will never heal." A Staten Island grand jury decided not to indict Pantaleo on criminal charges. A bail hearing will be held Monday for Allison Mack, the actress best known for her role on Smallville. She was charged yesterday with sex trafficking after federal prosecutors say she recruited women to an alleged cult in upstate New York. Plus, Rochelle Boone has more from downtown Brooklyn.
She's dangerous, she's sick, she's evil, she's dark. Harsh words for Allison Mack from a family friend of one of her alleged victims. Mack, who is best known for her role on the TV show Smallville, was arraigned on sex trafficking, conspiracy, and forced labor charges. Prosecutors say the actress was an aggressive recruiter for a highly organized sex cult called NXIVM in upstate New York.
She's a B-grade actress, beyond B-grade. And she's not in a reality show or a TV series. This is life. And she has to go away.
Mack has pled not guilty to the charges. She's accused of recruiting quote-unquote slaves for the group's leader, Keith Raniere, and forcing them to have sex with him under the threat of having damaging information about them released. Her slaves were also branded with his initials.
She's done harm to many people. Those aren't just allegations. They will be proved in court.
Raniere is a co-defendant in the case. He was arraigned in Mexico last month. NXIVM was built as a self-help and empowerment group.
Is there anything you can tell us about today's proceeding?
I'm not going to comment at all.
Is there anything you can tell us about your client? How's your client?
He's doing well. He's doing well.
What's his reaction to her?
I have no comments.
Mack is facing 15 years to life if convicted. Prosecutors say she ranked just below Raniere in the group's hierarchy. According to the complaint, she received financial and other benefits for recruiting the women who prosecutors say she was sometimes starved to meet Raniere's physical taste. We spoke with a representative of some of his victims who have been working to out Raniere online.
I started, my first awareness of Keith Raniere was under the name Executive Success Programs, which became NXIVM. And Raniere sued me for having those documents online, and ultimately he lost that lawsuit after over 10 years of litigation.
As for Mack,
room between where the front of the curve is and where the back of the curve is. Now the back of the curve is moving into the mid-50s, and that's creating support and uplift because the stocks, unless there's a lot of move down in crude oil, should perform comfortably.
So let's go to another area.
Okay, it's April 21st, 2018. 9:36 a.m. Once again, it's April 21st, 2018. 9:36 a.m. This is the smoke blast came a little bit later today. Usually it comes a little earlier, between 8:45 and 9:15. I was cast in a role as Abraham Lincoln in a play, and if I lose my voice, my career is over. So I want to keep this very brief. We're looking out of the windows of 255 West 43rd Street. This is the, it's about as tall as my windows. I'm on the 6th floor. So we're in Manhattan, looking at 255 West 43rd Street in Manhattan, looking direction north and west about 20 to 30 degrees at the Twin Chimneys belonging to John's Pizzeria. Their entrance open to the public is at 260 West 44th Street. I've been talking to one of my neighbors down in the 3rd floor. He wakes up earlier than I do, so he notices this around 6 a.m. So yeah, my throat hurts all the time. Oh boy, I can barely talk. So the young man, the DEP inspector, was here 2 days ago, and just came in Thursday and just came in and out and said there's no smoke from these. And he just said it in a very dogmatic way that would lead one falsely to believe that there's never any smoke coming out of here. There just wasn't any smoke at the moment that he came here. And other DEP inspectors hung out a little longer, like 15 minutes, and the first time the inspector came, he hung her out 4 hours and just, went from business to business to find out who was doing this. So I want to ask the DP that specifically this young man not come back here if he seems a very impatient kind of personality, and the other inspectors they've had have been very patient, much more patient. So I'll address that with the DP in writing. So what we do, it's a tradition here, we try to confirm the date and the time. So let me do that with my cell phone and my Bloomberg.
Introducing the new Jaguar E-Pace. For great offers, visit your local
Bloomberg's the only TV station that shows the date and the time. New York One shows the time, but not the date. Let me show you, let me zoom out here. And this is my books, my printer, here's the TV, here's, here they're talking about natural gas.
Because that inventory number had bulls running wild all week. All petroleum inventory fell below the 5-year average, but the big winner was gasoline demand at a record high. And the biggest withdrawal here was in Pad 5 that sucked out about 1 million barrels of gasoline. And at 1 p.m. tomorrow, we get that Baker Hughes rig number, the rig count now at its highest level since March 2015. But what was interesting is that as we wind up seeing Permian prices come down, takeaway capacity come down, Eagle Ford actually added 2 rigs, horizontal oil rigs. So as we wind up seeing that, you see diversity in the different basins. All right, now we want to get into the ring where we look at 3 charts, 3 trades. And I'm joined by Joe Doe, Bloomberg's metal and mining's reporter. Today, it is aluminum. It is aluminum all day, all the time, Joe. The man I call. Yeah, exactly right. The calls for $3,000 aluminum rang hard this week. Francisco Blanch spoke with me earlier on Bloomberg Television. Here's what he had to say.
We think aluminum is going to continue to rally because, look, I mean, we first hit aluminum with tariffs, and now we are taking 6% of supply, which is Rusal, out of the market. We are making it very, very tight, and the issue is, particularly domestically in the U.S., we're going to end up paying very high aluminum prices for this.
Oh yeah, aluminum prices went crazy this week, I can say.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking a $3,000 metal is a number that we haven't even been considering for over a decade, right? Goldman came out and had the same call, and it really is because, I mean, Rusal, when you take China out of the market, they're about 14% of global supply. In the United States alone, they're about 6 to 7% of our demand here. So people started realizing you're taking all of this metal out of the market, and people are scrambling to figure out how they're going to replace those metal units. And that's why when you talk to any source in this space right now, hey, the banks are calling $3,000 metal. Do you think that's possible? They're saying it's not impossible.
And you make a good point, because Rusal needs to get that metal out because they need to make money. Now they want to sell it to China. If you take a look at the LME versus Shanghai spread for aluminum prices, you've just really seen that spread blow out to the negative side as aluminum prices have rallied. Can Rusal get its aluminum to China? What does that spread have to look like to make that export arm work?
You know, our reporters in Asia and Europe spent a lot of time overnight kind of reporting this out and trying to figure out what's going on, whether they're negotiations or just general talks with the Chinese. But we don't know yet what's actually going to happen there. But when you're talking about this spread between LME and Shanghai, this is the question that has been coming up in the market already. People started wondering, wait a minute, if you're talking about this supply being out and that spread coming in, does it actually make sense that metal can start coming out of China to the rest of the world? And then you're talking about a situation that we haven't considered in an incredibly long time.
Excellent point. Especially they're paring back capacity too because of the oversupply. The other rally though we saw was in alumina prices. You take bauxite, you turn it into alumina in a refinery, then you move to a smelter to make aluminum.
Right.
That's had a big rally too. Is that a Rusal sanction story?
Well, not so much, right? The sources that we're talking to in the market have said it's certainly there. It's a question that everyone's trying to consider. But the Alunorte refinery in Brazil is massive. They've had a 50% curtailment. Alcoa last night had their earnings call and came on and said what had previously been a balanced market could now be between 300,000 to a 1.1 million ton deficit in the alumina market. This is a big deal because you need the alumina that you send a electric current right through to turn into the aluminum. And so people then are wondering, wait a minute, okay, the Rusal thing is about aluminum, but what if you can't even get the raw material to make the aluminum in the first place? Are there worries there? So you have those two things compounding, and the market's just trying to figure it out.
Joe, great stuff. Love it. Joe Doe, Bloomberg's Metal and Mining's reporter. And coming up, we're going to talk to Sharif Souki, the co-founder and chairman of Tellurian and the co-founder of Cheniere Energy, about how he is trying to reshape the U.S. LNG export market. That's next on Bloomberg Commodities Edge.
Okay, it's a little cold today. Still not completely dressed. I should show a picture of myself. Well, maybe not, but I'll show a picture of myself when I get dressed like Lincoln. In the morning, it's hard. I don't usually get around to that until the afternoon or the evening, but okay, I need to shut this window as I mentioned before.